Hi, so here's my super epic tweening tutorial. My way is really freaking easy because it's not high class or whatever. First, what you're going to do is find an image that you want to tween. Like, if you're doing it from an anime, do a manga image. It's so much easier. I have no clue how to do the colored images anyway. Also, Ibis Paint is highly recommended because you need to be able to save transparent images as well as having CapCut so you can use their keyframes. Because I have no clue how to do it in a light motion, nor do I want to even try that because it looks scary. So, probably just get Ibis Paint and CapCut because they're free anyway. Also, when you're picking your image, make sure the image isn't too complicated because, like, the simpler your image, the easier it will be to tween it. Like, when you're looking for your image, look for a plain white background with, like, no text or anything on it. Like, no, like, fancy, like, lined backgrounds or gray or gradient, because then that makes it really hard to tween it. At least I think it does. You can do whatever, I guess. But once you find your image, make sure to download it and then go into Ibis Paint and then just put your image in. Just go to like the little plus and then import picture because it should just be the normal format of your image, so it should be fine. Then hit cancel because, yeah. Now to actually get started on the whole tweening part, click on your image and then click on the lasso tool on the left. Oh, and then what you can do is you like lasso whatever, because you want a specific object. Like I want to tween the hand and I want to be able to move the hand around however I want to. So just lasso tool the entire object, and it doesn't have to be perfect because you're gonna go back and like fix it anyway. Like you can have some white lines in there and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be exact. Also, sorry my voice sounds like this. I'm pretty sick, and I promise you I'm not a little baby. Guys, I promise I'm a teenage girl. Trust me, trust. Also, sorry if the tweening isn't like great. I self-taught myself how to do it last night, so it's not like anything like Picasso worthy or anything like that. It's just for fun. And don't mind the amount of times I just said like in those 2 sentences. Once you get your image fully lassoed, go to the 2 little pages with the cross on them, a little like T, and then hit add layer from canvas, and then make sure it looks good, like hide the actual image and make sure it all looks good, and then go to the base image, like your starting image, and then erase it because you don't want to be able to see a hand. And then if you go to the selection layer, and then also on the same layer you've been drawing on, erase it because you don't want that hand on the layer because you want the hand on a separate layer. And then you can just go in and clean it up like that, like just erase where the remnants of the hand are. And it doesn't have to be perfect because the hand will be in the way of most of it anyway, so you should be fine. And then for parts like her hair and her shoulder, you can just make another layer and just fix it yourself. Like, this isn't perfect at all, and I know it, but just mess around with it until it looks semi-decent, because if the hand is going to be swaying in the way, there's no reason to spend so much time trying to make it look perfect. So next what I like to do is the eyes to make it look like she's sort of blinking. So for the eyes, all you really need to do is lasso where like the eyelid would be. It doesn't need to be perfect, but like you can kind of see me doing it. But just kind of like lasso where the eye should be closing at, and then you can also just go into like the selection layer and then fix it up. It makes it a lot easier, especially if like the color you're lassoing something on is black, because then you can actually see what you're looking at. So, because if you look, I'm only really taking like the eyelid bit. The part on the eye where I went down way more could have been a little like less, but I don't really know. I kind of just went with it. And then click the add layer from canvas or whatever it says, and then erase it on the main image again, and then erase it from the selection image, just so it doesn't like alpha lock it where you can only color in that section. And then you have your little eyelid, and then hide the eyelid, and then go back and make sure you're cleaning it up and erasing it, because the image you're working on right now, like erasing all of the stuff off of the image, is the like whole main part of the image, and you kind of need it to look at least a little bit good, not perfect. See, that's fine because the eyelid will be covering it anyway. I never really do anything with the pupil unless I like want the pupil to move, so unless you want to have fun with it, then have at it. And then you just do the same exact thing for the other eye. The hair is kind of like the only really like kind of tricky part, but it's still pretty easy. I just hope I can explain it so it makes sense. But like for Momo's hair, because I only want that little front piece of hair to be moving, that's the only thing I'm gonna like lasso. So what you see me doing is kind of just coloring in where her hair would be without the little front piece. So just like her regular black hair covering her head. Cause I'm gonna erase the if I get on the right layer, I'll erase the front piece right now. So technically, all you're really doing is the piece of hair you want to move. Like if it's bangs or something, then draw the hair around it, kind of. That may make sense. So you can see me just taking, bro, I cannot even explain this. Just taking the hair that you want off and then coloring around it so it looks okay. Because you're gonna have the piece of hair, like, I'll have the little front piece on Momo's head still when I go into, like, edit it and tween it and stuff. So it doesn't need to be perfect again, and that's why it looks kind of weird. See, you can see, it looks fine. You just have to make sure you're covering up the old hair you're leaving behind. I hope it makes sense, because it didn't relate to me, but maybe it makes sense. And then I'm kind of just fixing her costume, because the hair was in the way, so just kind of like fix around. And then once you add all of the pieces in, it should look like the normal image again, because that's what you want it to look like. And then now to save all the images, this is why I prefer Ibis Paint, because you can just do this normally. Just go to save image. I'll make sure you're also clicked on the layer, like the base layer of your image, and then make sure to change transparent off, and then it's save image. But then for all of the little accent pieces, like hair, eyes, I guess mouth, but not really right now at least, make sure it's on the transparent one. Otherwise, it will have a white background and it will not work. Also, just put your base image on CapCut or whatever platform you're using as like the background imagey thing. Like the base image. I don't know what you would say for it though. And then just make it however many seconds you want. If you're like syncing it up with an audio, then that would be kind of important. And then if you go to overlay, make sure all of the pieces are actually sized correctly, and then just add them in too. And then for the actual tweening bit, click on one of the overlays, and then it's kind of like near it's like on the right. There's this little diamond, and it's a keyframe, and then click on that, and make sure you have a keyframe at the beginning of every single overlay. You don't need it on the base layer, so don't do it. And then make sure you have one keyframe at the beginning of the image and at the end of the image. So when you tilt the image, it will change. Yup. Make sure that the first keyframe is just like normally positioned and it should look just perfect in. But then the last keyframe, I recommend like rotating it a tiny bit. It doesn't need to be over exaggerated or it'll be really noticeable. So because you can see the hair moves like a little bit, and you can see it if you like keep scrolling back and forth. And then there's like this little graph looking button right next to the keyframe, and then find whichever one of these little graphs looks the best. Bounce 3 I use a lot, but you can also just customize your own and make whatever would look best. The customizing is kind of weird. I don't know how to really explain it. You kind of just play around with it till it looks okay. But the main one I think a lot of people use is just bounce 3. And then for the eyes, for the last keyframe, you kind of just drag the eyes down a little bit. If you're skilled, you can like make it look like they're actually blinking and not blinking just like a little bit. But I feel like the blinking just a little bit also looks good too. And then Usually I don't do bounce 3 for the eyes because they're supposed to be blinking, but I thought it looked pretty good for this one. Like, for one of the ones on the toga tweening thing I did rebound in. And then it's the hand. And the hand you can really do however you want to. I'm kind of just messing around. But you can, like, rotate it in, or I usually rotate it in. And then, yeah, just make sure it looks super fun and super bouncy. Because then you have a fun little tween image. And then here's the result. Also, thank you for all the support I've been getting recently, and I hope my voice wasn't too annoying to listen to, because I know I'm sick. I can't do anything about it, though. Like, it's okay. But I felt like it was better than just slapping a filter on, because sometimes the filters are really annoying, and you cannot hear a single word they say, even though I did put subtitles. But, thank you. Adios.